My name's Cornish, and I'm a member of Radical Women, which is a socialist feminist group that was founded in 1967 in the U District at the University of Washington, actually. And our community meeting hall, Freeway Hall, was right under the University Freeway Bridge for many, many years. And we've had a campus chapter of Radical Women also to the present.
Present, that's a long time. I'm Henry Noble. I moved here from Boston in about 1972, took a job at the University of Washington, met the folks at Freeway Hall, and I've been active in politics in the city for all these years. Right now I'm National Secretary of the Freedom Socialist Party, and we have our national office right across the street from here on University Ave, and have been there for 9 years.
In 1974, Seattle City Light was doing an affirmative action program for women. There was one woman who was working in the electrical trades at the time. So, excuse me. So there was going to be a program of 10 women, and I applied because I wanted to help women break into the electrical trade, and got hired. And it was an explosive time because it was just like the rest of the 70s. You know, a lot of things were going on, and people tended to feel that if things weren't going right, they should get out there and protest it. And the City Light employees were very angry at the time because the superintendent was a very heavy-handed, militaristic kind of guy. And he did some really unjust suspensions of some electrical workers, and they just flat walked off the job. And there was an 11-day walkout of the electricians, and also pretty much all the rest of the workforce, because the electricians went to the main building where the secretaries and the engineers worked and said, "Hey, come join us," and everybody did. That was the month before we were hired. So when we went to work at City Light, the first question we were asked was, "Well, whose side are you on?" Because the superintendent had been responsible for setting up this program. And we said, "Oh, we're on the side of the employees, of course. That's who we are." And so we got in trouble right away. We were already in trouble because the woman who set up our program was one of the leaders of the building workers. She had helped get people to walk out. So we had we had a lot of resistance and fights against the superintendent. He cut off a lot of our training program, and a year after we were hired, we got these letters that said, "Congratulations, you have completed your program," meaning you're going to be fired. So the first day we were on the job, we were told, "Any one of you can become superintendent of City Light." And a year later, we were all laid off in a retaliatory firing. So we sued, and that was in the days when you could actually win a discrimination suit if you had good facts. And we got our jobs back a year after that, and I ended up working 30 years for Seattle City Light, and retiring as a senior power dispatcher. Yes, I was the first woman power dispatcher and senior power dispatcher. What we have found over the years is that affirmative action is still necessary to get people in the door. And unfortunately, around, what was it, 1999, an anti-affirmative action initiative was passed in Washington State. And the numbers of women in the trade have been dropping off ever since. But there have been maybe 5 or 6 women power dispatchers off and on over the years. Right now there's just one, I believe. The power dispatching is the highest level technical job in the electrical end because it's basically a safety thing. Electrical workers do get hurt and killed on the job. And so laws have been passed saying you have to have technical people who are in control of the electrical system. Of course, management always dislikes that because they want to be in control of everything. But so when the lights go out, there are people in this office rushing around pulling out maps and finding out what the area of the outage is and trying to determine the problem and dispatching crews. But we also dispatch the crews that work in the generation plants, which Seattle has some generation. So we keep the generators running and turn them on and off. We used to buy and sell the bulk electricity before deregulation of the electrical industry came in and made a bunch of changes and complications to that. But it's a very interesting job. It's a very interesting job. And, you know, the trades generally are a really interesting area to work. I wish more women and people of color had access to that kind of employment. It's a lot of fun. The union movement being in the union movement is important and a lot of fun because that's the only place where working people have a say in what's going on in this country. Seattle has a history of a very strong union movement. In recent years, it's kind of been like the union movement around the country. It's not as strong because people have been kind of convinced that strikes are a really big issue and the unions don't support each other sometimes as much as they should.
Starting back in Massachusetts with an AFSCME union that I was involved with, that I got involved with, interestingly, because I was working there, but I was also active against the war in Vietnam. And people in the place I worked wanted to know more about that and get involved with that. So when I came out here, it was natural to look for a union, and I found one at the University of Washington. And I joined it, even though my classification wasn't covered under the contract. You can still join a union, and so I did. And got involved in something that my union didn't want to do, but is where I met Radical Women and Freedom Socialist Party in an affirmative action fight. The fight was very big and broad and covered the whole campus. We had somebody in each building on campus who was part of this group called Staff Rights Organizing Committee. And the whole project was to try to keep the university from screwing lower paid workers when they merged the personnel systems of the statewide universities and colleges. But what they were going to make the same was that if you were a computer programmer or a secretary at Washington State University or Eastern Washington University or up in Bellingham, you'd make the same pay as somebody at the University of Washington.
And it involved a big reclassification, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they had the opportunity of either making everybody get the higher salary or everybody get the lower salary, and they took the opportunity to make everybody get the lower salary. And some of the statistics showed that people who were doing men's work, truck drivers and electrical workers, and they'd all get like a 5% raise in this shuffle. And people who were food service workers and clerical workers and cleaned up, they would all get a 5% hit.